So you have a tender rate and you love overlanding. You have plans to do it big on the trace and some super glamping. One ideas, deep news and reviews, a podcast the first rate and here just for you. You don't have to think about it, join us and be about it. Something interesting we want to hear about it, come on let's talk about it. Welcome to Waypoint Overland's Random Waypoints Podcast.
Sponsored by Midland, communication for every adventure, the industry leader in radio communication technology and innovation for over 50 years. Sponsored by MyMedic. Sponsored by Tembo Tusk. Sponsored by SHOWERPOUCH. Sponsored by DeMoss Collective, mission built and made for mobility. Sponsored by BrewTrek. Sponsored by Hard Impact Designs.
Always remember, the opinion you follow should be your own. Just consider the things stated here to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online.
Hey everybody, I've got some special guests for you today. We have Delia Enoch and Ella of MOLEISUREXVENTURES. Now, I want to tell you a little bit about them. All the way back in 2019, they quit their jobs, they sold their belongings so that they could travel full time. And their goal was they wanted to visit all the national parks. Now, as of today's date, they've gone to 52 parks out of 63. After they visit all these parks, they're going to do the Pan American Highway. Now, they live in a 2009 NISSAN XTERRA, and they've converted it into sort of to like a do-it-yourself troopy adventure vehicle. Interior was built out with a full kitchen and a storage system. Welcome to the podcast, guys.
Thanks for having us.
We appreciate it. We're really excited.
Not as excited as I am. One of the things that I love about doing this podcast, and one of the reasons that I created this podcast, is because I consider myself an Overlander, but more than that, I'm a fanboy of this whole thing. You know, there's no ego involved with me. I watch everybody's YouTube channels. I follow everybody on social media. And you're one of those guys. I'm a fanboy of you guys.
Yay.
I don't think anyone's ever said that.
I don't think so. I don't think
before.
I gotta get a pen out and make my head a little smaller.
So tell us where you guys are right now.
Where are we?
Oh, we're up in Arizona mountains in outside of Prescott. Just kind of getting away from the heat because down in the valley it's 100 degrees. Up here, at least it's only 80.
It's 72.
Right 72.
Oh, nice.
With high gusts of wind.
I think there might be a cold front coming through. I don't know.
Okay. People heard me say three names, so let's talk about who the third person is so there's no confusion.
Oh, Ella's sleeping right now.
Ella.
Oh, you just woke her up.
Hi, pretty girl. Come here.
She was in her little sleeping phase. Her mouth was moving. Oh.
I'm sorry, Ella. I got a biscuit for you when I see you.
She's like, what? Oh, can we get up? There we go.
There she is.
So that's the other member. So that's the other member of the team, Ella, there for everybody who's watching.
She's like, I want to go back to sleep.
She's like, oh, can I go back to sleep now? Because this is interrupting nap time.
Right. Seriously. Okay, go ahead.
That's
Ella.
my seat, Ella. Ella, go down.
That's her new home now. She's out of the room.
There we go.
So I want everybody to know you guys are not in some hotel being interviewed. You are actually on location in your vehicle.
Yes.
Good girl.
Almost at the top of the hill, not quite to the top, but yeah, not too bad. I think we're doing like 20, 30 mile an hour winds right now. So
Is it really?
yeah, it might get a little flappy once in a while, but we should be okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so are you ready for the interrogation that's about to go down?
Oh man.
I think so.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Hold on.
I got some good questions today, Phil.
Let me get this tightened
I'm
up.
ready.
Okay, I'm ready now. I'm ready.
All right, well, let's start with telling everybody where you were born and raised.
So I was born in Georgia, military family, so I was raised all over the country.
And I'm born and raised in Brooklyn, New York.
Woo!
East
Yep.
Coaster. All right.
Yep.
Now, did you guys grow up overlanding, traveling, or being nomadic in any kind of way?
So for me, I would say definitely like nomadic in a way because of the military. We typically were only in locations for a year or two at most. And then once my dad did retire from the military, he still kind of had that in him. It was a couple year contracts here and there, and then we would move to a new location until I got much older. I settled down a little bit, but in the end, I found myself back on the road again.
I'm the complete opposite, kind of. I grew up traveling. Like we like to go to like different cities within the US, and then we traveled internationally as a family, but we never really like did road trips or went camping. The first time I went camping was with Enoch, actually. I liked being outdoors and going hiking, but like growing up in New York City, like you have to travel like 2 hours upstate just to find a mountain to hike. So it wasn't something I did often. So I moved to California so I could do that more often. But that might be another question. I don't want to get ahead of myself.
Well, I'm shocked to hear that about you in particular, because I imagined you were just an outdoor person your whole life, the way you carry yourself and how comfortable you are.
Oh, I adapt to whatever my environment is. And I like being outdoors, but again, I never had the chance to do more of it. So as I got older and was able to be more independent, then I started doing that more.
So what did you guys do before this journey started?
So I've had a few different careers in my life, but I owned a dental lab for a couple of years, and then I also worked in construction for like 8 months right before the trip.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You guys left on full time 3 years ago, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
And okay, so 3 years ago was pre-COVID.
Yeah, so it was November 2019 was when we started.
So really right before, kind of.
Yeah. COVID was happening.
Yeah.
But before this trip, I had a normal 9 to 5. I worked in tech in the Bay Area. So, you know, I did what normal people did, I guess.
Well, so what led to this big change in lifestyle? Take me through the process.
So
Yeah.
Enoch and I met in California in a hiking group. We went hiking every weekend, and then he was like, I'm going to move up to Alaska because he has family there. And so
That's what a normal person does.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I've never been to Alaska. Can I fly up and visit and travel with you? And he was like, sure. So I flew up for like a long weekend, and that's when I went camping for the first time. We did, is it called the Inner Loop?
Yeah, that's what I call it.
Alaska.
You know, the Fairbanks, Denali, Tuckheedna, back around is kind of the inner, like, paved, safe route inside of Alaska.
And so we went to Denali, and I really liked it. And then I was like, I want to travel more. Like, I want to do more camping. I want to do more road trips because that's something I never did as a child. So I wanted to do more of it. And I was like, were you the one that said that you were planning to build out the vehicle? Yeah. So he was planning to build out the vehicle and travel full time anyway. So I was like,
I didn't have any direction with what I wanted to do in the travel, but I knew I just I wanted to be out there.
Yeah.
You know?
And so that's something I've always wanted to do, but never, I was afraid to do it by myself. I guess that would be the thing. And so here's an opportunity. And I was like, all right, let's do it. Let's go visit all of the national parks. And so I flew back down to California and started like purging and getting rid of things. He didn't think I was serious.
I didn't. Like I'm in Alaska. I'm getting my rooftop tent. I'm building out my kitchen galley in the back of the XTERRA. You know, just your kind of fridge, couple drawers, and you know the pull-out countertop with the stove in it. Like super, like you know, basic as far as initial Overland build. And I'm like, this is gonna work perfect. And then I get done with that, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna head back down to the States, and we'll see kind of where she's at with it. And I pull in, and 3/4 of her stuff was gone. And at that point, that's when I was like, oh, she's serious. She's coming with me. She's not just like
coming for me.
Yeah, like yeah. So then what?
After my lease ended in November 2019, and that's when we hit the road.
Yeah.
Wow.
With too much stuff, by the way.
When you
because everybody hits the road with too much stuff. Like who hasn't done that?
So when you showed up, it was in the current vehicle that you guys are in now, correct?
Yes.
So let's talk about that. What compelled you to choose the form of travel that you chose?
Yeah, so I've had experience with Nissans in my teenage years. I got to drive around a 720 hardbody, 1984. Excellent vehicle off-road. And then in my later years, I owned a XTERRA previously for a few years, and I enjoyed the vehicle. It had its issues, but it was a pretty good vehicle all in all. When I found this one though, it just jumped out at me, honestly. Like we drove by, and it's just a super basic XTERRA with highway tires on it. It was in a lot for 85 or 9,000 or
I think it's
either way,
85.
right? $8,500 roughly. And I was like, oh, I just gotta go look at it. You know, I like Nissans, I like XTERRAs. I gotta go look at it. I walk up to it. It was a 6-speed standard. You know, it's a manual.
Sold.
And immediately I looked over her and I was like, I'm buying this today. And a few hours later, we were leaving. I haggled my way down, basically $500 down, so they could cover the taxes essentially. And then I bought it that day, left, and somehow it is what it is today. Well, that's a long story.
Yeah.
So when this is broadcast, I'm going to make sure that people are looking at pictures and video of your vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
Get into some detail about the evolution of the vehicle, because it wasn't how it is now.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. So like from when we first got it, like a bone stock, it had 4x4, you know, it had the 6-speed manual and highway tires. That was it. You know, so from there we started the trip with that same exact build. I added the Smitty built, the kitchen galley in the back. We did that for 8 months in that build.
Did you change the suspension, or you
wasn't
had a
until
lease?
Yeah, that wasn't until COVID.
Oh,
So
I don't know. He does all the work on the car.
Yeah. So then,
So what I'm hearing though is you kind of had a special affinity for Nissans, number one.
Yeah.
It also sounds like you are fairly mechanically talented, correct?
Yes. I can build anything basically. So I come from a background of when I was a child, very hands-on, build houses, doing electrical work, things like that. And then as I've gotten older, I definitely like lean toward engineering and designing products and developing those and then testing them out, you know. So that's been the best part, I think, about this platform is the flexibility of the platform and what you can do with it. And because it's such a strong frame system and body. Yeah. So like from building that background, the first iteration, we stayed in for like 8 months. Then we jumped over to a trailer.
Because we got Ella.
When we towed that trailer for almost a year, that was not a fun year. I don't recommend trailers for a full-time off-road lifestyle like we live.
Hey, Phil, where have you heard that before?
It seems like that's a regular story that we hear quite often.
Yeah. I think there's a few products out in the market. They're amazing products. They're very well engineered, but they have shortcomings when it comes to the off-road industry. And maybe there needs to be some words that need to be put out there so that the people understand that there are limitations to those products and what those limitations are. And hopefully in the future, we won't see those kind of breakage and issues on future trailers. But besides that, we worked through those issues. We fixed all of the problems that we found with that trailer. Yeah. And then at that point, I felt comfortable being able to sell it to somebody confidently that they would be able to use it and enjoy it as much as we did without the complications. So then we sold that. And then at that point, I mean, Delia kind of was presenting.
I was like, I don't want to have to cook outside in the elements anymore. Like, I don't want to have to wake up in the morning and it's windy like it is now and try to like light a fire to make coffee or breakfast or anything like that. So his solution was to cut a hole in the roof.
Seems like a great idea. I mean,
right? Like
it looked like I was watching, a couple of your videos, and yeah, I mean, it's genius.
Yeah, so, I mean, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I really took a lot of the ideas and what I put into this from, the Toyota Troopies and those style vehicles, those expedition live-in vehicles, and that's the basis of the whole build. And then from there, how do I accommodate it to this space and this platform?
See, you sort of answered my question. I was going to ask, most people don't just rip the tops off their vehicles and do that's a huge thing that you did. Yeah. Was it something that you off the cuff thought one day, or was this something you thought about for a long time before you did it? Mm-hmm. How did you get to the point that you said, I think I'm going to rip the top off my XTERRA?
And did you know what was inside of it? In other words, did you find any kind of, structural blueprint to it, or how did that go?
Right. So through a few conversations with people inside of the Nissan world and kind of gathering information, I came to realize that one of the reasons, not the sole reason, but one of the reasons that they stopped producing the XTERRA was because of safety measures that they would no longer be able to meet. One of those is the roll cage in the back. There was no roll cage for the passengers in the rear. So that led me to believe that area was not structural. Mm. So then once I figured that out, then I removed the headliner and started playing with all of the cross members that were running across. And they were like banjo pieces. Like they had a little bit of glue on the top that held it up. But as soon as you took that glue, it just flapped around. There was nothing there. So at that point, I knew that these were not structural, that they were for, rigidity situations where you're ultra flexed out kind of scenarios. Like maybe they would engage a little bit at that point, but for the most part, it shouldn't have been an issue, and it hasn't been an issue at all. So, yeah.
Well, I love what you've been doing with it. Now, me and Mike and I, let me use good English. Mm-hmm. Mike and I, it's very important to us that we don't paint pictures that are not true. And the way I kind of read your bio, it just sounds like, we decided to stop working. We just decided to hit the road and do whatever. Mm-hmm. So please discuss with us, what were some of the hurdles for you to get to the point where you are now, where you're able to start this journey?
Absolutely. I mean, the number one is always going to be monetary, right? That's the one and the first question out of everyone's mouth. So I was in a very bad car accident and I barely survived. And that was kind of one of the reasons leading to the freer lifestyle that we're living today. Really changed the perspective. I think anyone who's gone through those kind of life-changing situations definitely understands what I'm saying. And that can be in a multitude of ways. Those experiences come in all kinds of different avenues. But for mine, it was a life-threatening situation. And when I came out of that, I knew that I didn't want to live that way anymore. And so we jumped on, and started talking about doing the trip. So she was working, great job, making really good money. So she started saving money on her end. And then I was able to take the money that I got from my settlement, and that afforded me the ability to travel. Otherwise, I've never been somebody that makes, 3 figures or plus per year. So I've been able to save a good amount of money, but not enough to travel for the extent that we have, for sure. But
we saved up money to visit all the national parks. Like, this is before COVID, so we didn't know COVID was going to alter our plans. So we saved enough to be able to visit all the national parks for 2 years. It was going to take 2 years for us to do it. And then COVID happened, which pushed back our plans. And I mean,
we were before COVID, we were on pace to finish in a year and a half.
Yeah.
Like the year that COVID hit, that summer was going to be Alaska. And then since then, it's just, everything is just kind of just shuffled out. And now we're finally at the end, we're getting to the end of it, but it went from 2 years to almost 4 years to accomplish the goal that we initially planned for.
Another hurdle is getting rid of stuff.
Yeah.
I lived in a studio apartment by myself. I had quite a lot of things to fill up a studio apartment. Now, clothing wise, all of my clothes fit into a 55-liter backpacking backpack.
I may or may not have given her that size and said, this is all.
It went from a box to a backpack.
It did.
All right, so that's an upgrade.
I guess.
That's what I told her.
Luckily, I'm smaller than him, so my clothes are smaller, so I can have more clothes than him.
She wanted to count everything up, and she was like, "Oh, I have 12. I can fit 12 t-shirts in the same bag that I can fit like 7 in." So you're doing good.
So look, I'm a national park guy. So I love the idea of visiting all the national parks. And I know a lot of national park people. And when we talk, people usually have a strategy if they plan on visiting them all. What was your strategy? Did you have like a itinerary or a route planned or something like that?
That's all you.
No.
No, you will.
The only strategy I had was follow the seasons.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was so what I found by following the seasons, the best way that I found to do that is a spiral motion. So we started California and we just went down through the south, all through wintertime, down the Keys, back up. And by the time you make it down to Key West, Dry Tortugas, fly down to St. John's, come back, and then start driving back up. That's roughly, if you're on a good pace, that's roughly about 6 months. So you're hitting springtime, going into summer, and now you're hitting Maine. So it's nice and warm, all that good stuff. And then you shoot across, make it over to the North Cascades, Badlands, all that. And then right as you get to the end, it'll be fall time coming out of Olympic National Park. And then you dip back down to southern Utah and you hit that center section and then you're done.
You have how many left now, and are they all in the same? Are they all Alaska then, or where are the ones that you have not?
I have 7 in Alaska, 2 in Hawaii, 1 in American Samoa, and that darn Michigan one, Isle Royale. We've been trying to go for the past 3 years, and it hasn't happened. The first year was COVID, so the ferry was shut down. Last year we tried to go in September, and I booked the ferry. Everything was good to go. The day before we were supposed to get on the ferry, they called us and said something broke on the ferry, and they were canceling the rest of the season. And so this year I was like, we're going when the park opens in April. And then to find out the ferries don't start running until mid-May. Like, what is...
Yep. So, we were going to go right after more Expo. Yeah. Because we were, in the Midwest. We were going to shoot up, hit that last park in the lower 48, and then all we'd have is Alaska, Hawaii, and America Samoa. And it's like this little, it's just dangling over us. Like, we just keep going there. And they're just like, no, not today. Maybe next week.
So I have to ask this. You are the perfect person for this. Give me your top 5 national parks so far.
Oh, I like that.
Big Bend National Park in Texas is the number 1 for us. It's it was just, I don't know, it hit all the notes for us. It was just amazing.
You got the desert, you have off-roading, there's the Black Gap Road, which is a Jeep Badge of Honor trail. You can cross the river into Mexico for the day, ride a donkey.
Float down the river.
Float down the river, go kayaking through the canyons.
Almost every outdoor activity you can think of is available to you in this space, and it's one of the least visited parks.
So it's quiet
in the U.S. So it's got its special
it's a dark
charm.
sky park, so stars.
Yeah,
all the stars, all the things.
Oh my goodness, so many stars.
So Big Bend.
So that's number 1. What is number 2?
North Cascades.
North Cascades for her.
Oh, not for you. What's your number 2?
I like Theodore Roosevelt.
Oh,
I really like that. That was just like really cool for me, like driving through all that backcountry.
It's like the Badlands, but less visited.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Yeah.
I think there might be a theme with our favorite parks, and it might be less people.
I think North Cascades is the least visited in Washington.
Yeah. Olympic was beautiful though, but North Cascades definitely second. Death Valley would be my third. Like, Death Valley was our first real off-road scenario. That's a good story.
We did Mangle Pass.
Yeah, we did Mangle Pass.
We were doing Mangle Pass.
Yeah. She pulls out the map. All right, you have the national parks map.
Why are you always blaming on me?
And I was like, hey, where do you want to go next? And she's like, how about we go to Bellyrat? It's just right over here on the other side. And I was like, how do we get there? She's like, there's this road here. And on the map, it just says Canyon Road. Like, that's the name of the road. It's Canyon Road. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. Well, all right, let's just go down the Canyon Road. Like, we've already done a bunch of Canyon Roads already. They're not that bad.
Right.
Man, we get all the way, like, I would say a third of the way into this trail. And there's the geologist cabin off to the side. And we stop and we're talking to some guys. And they're like, where are you going? I'm like, oh, we're just going to go over the Canyon Road, just, over that way. He's like, over Mangle Pass? And I'm like, is that the Canyon Road? He's like, yeah, Mangle Pass, that's the Canyon Road. And I'm like, yeah, we're just going to go down the Canyon Road. No big deal, right? Like, yeah, no big deal. He's like, well, why don't you guys stay at the cabin over there? And then you can go up with us tomorrow. And I'm like, oh, no, we got this. But we're just going to go over to Bellyrat tonight. Not a big deal. It's just a Canyon Road.
It was like the sun was setting at this point. It was dusk. The guys were like, okay, good luck.
And it just went over my head. Like, I totally was just missing the subtle hints of like, hey, dude, you should probably wait. This is not just a Canyon Road. But they just like right over my head. And I'm just like,
We still had highway tires at the time. We were not aired down. We still had the side steps, which after going up Mangle Pass, we lost the side steps. So
no more side steps. And then we had a cargo carrier on the back.
Yeah, a cargo hitch.
That may or may not have been completely obliterated on that trail as well.
That told us we had way too much stuff.
That's right.
But we survived.
So I think you guys owe us one more part.
Mm.
What would be your? I really enjoyed Dry Tortugas. Like, I would have liked to stay out there for a few nights.
There's not a lot of people I found that have been there. It's amazing, but like, good luck finding people that have gone. There's not that many people go.
Yeah, most people haven't even heard of it.
Yeah, it's a 2-hour ferry ride, and when we went, the waves were.
Yeah, it was. No, I didn't throw up, but I was definitely nauseous. I had to take it. Yeah. Normally I don't have to take that, and I was like, they kept harping on the fact that it was going to be really rough that day. So I was like, you know what? I'll just in case.
So Mike, go ahead.
I like Acadia.
Oh yeah, Acadia is a beautiful park.
And we also went right when it opened after quarantine had lifted. So June 1st, we booked it up there, and again, there was nobody there. So.
Yeah, we got to it was like all the roads were just
empty.
Us. It was us and then a couple people on bicycles, and that was it. It was great. We parked at every single view spot, take our time. That was good. Can't do that anymore. Now you have to get reservations, if I remember correctly, to go. So
this is a good time for me to use that, because I like to mention this as often as possible. Like, you're talking about the great time that you had there. Mm-hmm. This year, there's now a new time schedule type thing that they have. You have to make a reservation if you want to drive to what is it, Cadillac Island or Cadillac Road or whatever it's called.
The hill,
Cadillac Mountain. Yeah.
Right. So you can't just drive there. You have to drive with intent, make a reservation, and hope that you get the reservation that you want. So if you want to go like during a prime time, it's not guaranteed.
Sunrise.
You're not going to get that time slot most likely unless you plan very, very far ahead. So what COVID did for the outdoors and the parks and stuff, I think it's great, because more visitation, more dollars for them, so they can do a better job. But it's definitely going to change the way anybody in the future goes and enjoys these parks. And they got to plan a lot more than we did. We had the ability to just show up and enjoy. Now you can't do that. There's at least, I think there's 6 parks now that there's some kind of reservation system, if not for the whole park, for specific parts of the park. So like, try to be aware if you're planning on going to a national park, take that time, do the due diligence, and make sure they don't have reservation systems in place for a hike that you might want to do, or a backcountry thing that you might want to do. You really want to make sure you know what you need to pre-plan for sure.
And I think there's actually a couple more they just added this year. So my rule of thumb is, if you've heard of the national park, you better check it out, because the big ones definitely have reservations.
Oh, yeah.
Not only have they added additional national parks, some of the ones that were the original ones on the list, they've added other portions of the park. Like, for instance, Glacier, it was just going to the Sun Road. Now they've added North Fork, which was for the first 2 years my little secret. I was like, oh, I'll go to Pole Bridge and have and I'll go to the 5 lakes and avoid all of that. Now, if you go to Glacier, it's reservation.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's good to know. Yeah, it's really changing the game as far as like just being able to pop in and do stuff. So I find now, like, if we, for whatever reason, if we're in an area and we want to go see something, worst case scenario, we have to kick it around for a few extra days and you can grab those reservations that get dropped. Mm-hmm. So early morning, you show up, and then you kind of like wait around, and then if someone doesn't show up, they're like, all right, you can go in.
Yeah.
All right. I have a question that I ask everybody. If me and Mike showed up to your campsite, you knew we were on our way there, what do you cook to impress? What should we expect to eat?
Is this breakfast, lunch, or dinner?
You decide.
I mean, my fanciest meal on the road is spaghetti and meatballs. Like,
that's good. Yeah.
That's a good go-to meal, though.
Yeah. Rolling out the meatballs, pan frying it. Although we need more than one person with us to make it, so that's why we only have one burner in the car.
Yeah, I was going to ask, what do you guys? What do you use to cook? What is your sort of setup for cooking on the road?
We have a single burner induction stove.
Okay,
so everything's electric now.
Yep.
Yeah. I wanted to do away with all the extra variables, so limit it down to just a couple. I got to worry about gas, and I got to worry about electricity that I can make from the sun. Yeah.
So is your primary cookware cast iron, or is it stainless steel with a plate in it?
So it was originally cast iron, and then we got like a set of stainless steel cookware, but things just kept sticking on it. I just don't know how to get things to like come off of it. So we recently we went to REI and we found this new pan that I've been using. And it has like it has a non-stick coating on it, and then on the bottom it has a steel magnetic plate. And is it aluminum?
There we go.
Is like the whole thing aluminum, and then this part is steel?
Yeah. I don't know. It's induction technology. It's induction technology. That's all.
I haven't seen those in person, but I've read a lot about them.
Yeah.
They have like a whole set now that they have. Green pan, just in the regular kitchen world, is considered like one of the top 2 or 3 non-stick pans that you can get in the world. Yeah.
Oh, we just walked into and like,
Good choice.
You did well.
What really sold us on it was,
the handle.
The fact that you just, and then that way, it takes up just the exact space.
Yeah.
So that was one of the big selling points to it, was the handle removal part.
So very important question about your spaghetti.
Yes.
Who's making the meatballs and sauce?
I make the meatballs. I mix the meat together with the onions, garlic, pepper. Enoch has been cooking all of the meat lately.
Yeah.
He knows like when it's done just by like touching it, and so I just let him do it.
So typically she'll start cooking the meatballs.
I do all the prep work.
Yeah, and then I do all the actual like cooking part. But I still consider her doing the cooking because she's doing the hard stuff. All I'm doing is moving around on the pan. So,
I do all the breakfast.
Yeah, you do all the breakfast. I'm too lazy in the morning. I'm no good at the morning. She knows that. She's like, all right, I'll make the food.
Until after he's had his Mountain Dew.
Yeah. Once I have my Mountain Dew, I'm okay. I don't drink coffee.
It sounds like at this point, you guys have gotten into a groove, come to understand mostly what you do need, what you don't need. Your setup is, you've got it. Everybody always has something else they want to do, but you've pretty much got it squared away.
Yeah, it's pretty dialed in.
So my question is, for me, for Mike, for the audience, what would you do differently if you could do it all over again? You'd wait, right?
Do I have an infinite amount of money?
No.
Damn it. Oh. Let's see. What would I do different?
I mean, you already have some changes in your mind.
Yeah. But that's build stuff. Or we're just talking overarching. What would we do different?
Well, let me phrase it another way. I like to ask people.
All right.
You know, you guys, not many people make it 3 years on the road continuous. That's a challenge. I'm just about the same, about 3 years, and I found that most people that I meet, I think their staying power tends to be somewhere between like 8 months, maybe, and 14 months, and then they can't take it. So, what would you say are the biggest challenges that you've had? Things that you've struggled the most with, and maybe that'll give some insight onto, you know, as Phil was asking, you know, what would you change? Typically, the change is associated with things that you've been challenged with.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I mean, for me, it's more so as a female, a bathroom. Just having a bathroom, being in a bathroom, taking a nice shower. That's one of the main things I miss the most, being on the road. And so the first couple of years, we were a lot more consistent, just being in the vehicle.
Yeah.
And then recently, I've been going home a little bit more just to visit my family, and it's kind of been nice being in a home with, you know, running water. But then I do miss, you know, the daily grind that we have, where we wake up to a new place every day, and so that's, I don't know, I'm torn. I'm definitely torn. But if we could have like a full running bathroom in a vehicle and not pull a trailer.
Right.
That'd be great.
Right.
Kind of like Mike's vehicle.
It's funny. That's why I asked that, because, you know, typically I get a lot of people that come walking through my truck, and I've been hanging, as an example, this winter, I've been down in Baja for the last 6 months, and I've gotten just a ton of different vehicles of all sorts of types and sizes come through here. And I think I've been kind of doing an informal survey. And what I am finding is, as you guys, I think, brought up a little bit earlier, I mean, your staying power somewhere usually has to do with one of three things. It either has to do with how much food you can have and carry on board, your electricity situation, meaning how you're generating power. And then the third thing is obviously water. And that has a lot to do with, you know, how much you can carry, but also your comfort level. So that's where the shower part and in washing and all that stuff come into play. And I think that of the three things is what's really limiting a lot of people, particularly in smaller rig setups.
I think the only solution, or somewhat of a solution, that we have come across for our size rigs, and that still feels somewhat like you're taking showers and things like that, is the geyser system.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
That's kind of, I feel like that's the solution for small rigs like this. You know, you pop up your outside tent, you stake it down, make it nice and solid, and then you utilize that space as if you would a bathroom, you know. But it's getting used to that functionality, right? Like using that, becoming your daily, you know, those kind of things, instead of like us, where we're used to just waiting 4 or 5 days. And then maybe
the stink, especially if we don't have to see anyone. The only time I'm worried is if we're meeting up with someone. I'm like, we should probably take a shower.
Yeah. I think I would have to agree. Like, as far as a challenge,
like shower pouches, you know, one shower pouch we cut it in half, and we both can use one shower pouch. And if it's cold outside, you could heat it up in the water. So that's been a great step to have.
There's definitely like a lot of solutions out there for, you know, long-term travel. But it, like, you know, like anything else, it comes down to dollars and cents, right? Like, how much does it cost per shower pouch to take a shower, compared to how much it would be to go take a shower at a truck stop? Or, you know, so like all those little things. And sometimes, you know, you want the running water, just hang out in that hot water for 20 minutes for no apparent reason. It's kind of nice once in a while, you know. little creature comforts. I think those are always the things that people miss the most, I would imagine. It's those little creature comforts. We were able to build a lot of them into the vehicle, but those core, like running water all the time, the on-demand stuff, it's no longer available, so everything is finite. I only have so much power. I only have so much water. So everything has to be planned around those finite resources, if I could somehow have infinite amount of resources in my vehicle, that would be something I would change. Yeah.
How do you handle most people that are on the road, as much as you guys are, have some element of, I'm going to call it the mental game. How do you handle like stress or just frustration or even the interaction between the two of you? I mean, it's everybody always paints the picture that, being on the road is all Instagrammable and it's, beautiful sunrises and sunsets, but, talk about that a little bit.
You gotta chase the sunsets. Otherwise you're always under the clouds.
Yeah.
That's something I would definitely say. Like, finding the sun, it comes and goes, the good times, the bad times. I like to think that I know our posts don't really show like the true side of everything, but our stories are very like, this is what we're doing, this is how we're living, this is like the realities of living on the road. Because our posts are just, here's our rig in the mountains. It looks pretty, right? But our stories, if you watch our stories, that's where you're gonna see like the troubles, the hassles. My alternator went out while we're crossing the country in the middle of a storm. So I'm sitting outside with a tarp over the front of the car, and I'm, disassembling the engine, pulling the belts off and pulling the alternator out, and, getting all that stuff done. That's
well, so also communication. Yeah. Like we're in this little space 24/7. The only time that we're separate is like if one of us is outside, and so communication, like if something is bothering you, you have to say it. And in my opinion, that should be every relationship, but for whatever reason it's not a standard. But if you have a problem and you don't voice the problem, nobody can find a solution. Right. Because then it's just a problem in your head, so that's a very, very important part about it. And sometimes it's not something I want to hear. Sometimes it's something she doesn't want to hear, but you got to be honest and open. You got to say it. And after that, maybe you guys have to walk separate directions for 20 minutes and then come back and you can have a constructive conversation. But the hard part has to be said. Otherwise you can't work through the problem.
Mm-hmm. And you guys came together, I feel like fairly shortly before this, right? So a lot of your experience is this travel, correct?
Yeah. How long did I know you before we started that?
5 months.
6 months. I met her that spring, and we left in the fall on the trip. Yeah. You're silly.
Now she's laughing because it seems like she's a little embarrassed. I just want to share that I met my wife one night. There was a day in between. The next day we went on a date, and we've been together ever since. Nice. So I think you know it when you know it. Mm-hmm. And that's usually in the beginning, because even the ones that don't work, when you talk to them, they reflect back and say, oh, I knew all the time. All the signs were there. So don't be ashamed of your short term. Mine is even shorter. It was 2 days.
Nice.
We've never, well, obviously we're apart.
Yeah.
But, we have been together ever since 2 days. Constant.
Yeah.
It was a few weeks before that started.
I don't know what you're talking about right now. I'm not.
No, me neither.
All right. I need to take advantage of this opportunity. You are perfect for something. The most common questions that I get personally when people want tips, it's about navigation and getting prepared for travel. You guys are about to embark on a big trip coming soon. And I'm sure you've already started the planning.
Absolutely.
So let's start with gear.
Mm-hmm.
We know you got the XTERRA and you've ripped the top off your vehicle. Could you name some of the gear recently that you've added to the vehicle? Maybe suspension, tires, whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
In preparation for this.
Yeah, absolutely. We've started working with a few different companies, trying to get ready for the Pan American Highway. We're working with Firestone, so we're running their destination MT2s. Been super impressed with them so far. We've taken them through Moab and a little bit of desert runs and
snow
and all the good stuff, you know. And then we've been running All Dogs Off-Road paired with Coney Shocks, a 2-inch lift kit that they sell. They're I've been running them now for almost a year now. And they've been doing really, really well. Super impressed with the ride quality on those. Solid product all around. From there, we've kind of we have like a snorkel, you know, to help us in the dusty situations. We've got some inexpensive night lights running for our ditch lights. And
I used to.
they work great, man. We've been on them for 2 years and there's still no condensation. We've had no water issues. So ain't broke, don't fix it. That's the way I look at it. You know, that's the way to go, I think. Because we installed another brand that was different from Nightlight and they lasted like a month.
Yeah.
So
I've been using them. Yeah.
That's a good one.
I made the mistake early on buying expensive lights. That's one of the only things that went down on my vehicle are my lights.
Wow.
I bought some much, much, much cheaper lights and they have worked ever since.
Mm-hmm.
Particularly once it switched over to LED. I remember in the old days, we used to spend so much money on high-end lights. They were super expensive. And I know, and that's one thing right now I would not spend money on because you can get inexpensive stuff that is solid and why bother, you know?
Yeah, I think that's one thing about this build and just the overall like thought process through this is like everything that I've done has been done on a super, super budget. You know, it's like taking things and modifying it, you know, like the rooftop tent. I modified the rooftop tent to make it work for this use case, you know, and so it's like anywhere you can do that compared to building it yourself, you can save some money that way. And especially if you can, find, like you're saying with the nightlights, find a pretty reasonably priced product that you know is well made and you can do amazing things with it, you know? Yeah. So you don't always have to buy that top dollar item that don't let that keep you from going outside. That's all I'm saying.
And every dollar that you save on gear is a dollar you spent on the road, right?
Right. That's right. Anywhere you can save $1, that's an extra mile of gas, you know, because that's rent now. Yeah. You know, our gas bill is our rent now, you know, so anywhere we can keep the belt tight, the further we can go. Yeah.
You mentioned you had, I believe, Firestone tires, and what was the lift again?
It's All Dogs Off-Road. They're out of Lincoln, Nebraska.
Mm-hmm. So what size tire are you using right now?
So I'm running a 285/70 R17. So it's a 33 inch. Yeah.
So a 33, only a 33 and a 2-inch. I'm trying to make a point. So don't.
Oh yeah.
He has a Jeep.
Only 33s and a 2-inch lift And you plan on doing the Pan American Highway? What are you doing?
Come on, Phil. They got to be just going to the mall. No.
So why didn't you decide to get 40s and a 5-inch lift? I'm curious.
Well, I mean, those are show numbers, right? They're not useful numbers. I mean, I can ride around on 45s. They sell them. I could buy them. I could just remove my fenders and just drive around on some 45s. But what use does that give you? What ability? What is that going to take you further down the trail? Is that going to get you to that spot?
Per gallon be?
So do you really think you're going to make it through the Pan American Highway with only 33s and a 2-inch lift?
Absolutely. I'm thinking I might even try to go for the Darién Gap. What do you think?
I don't know. I hope you like snakes.
So if there are people who are listening who didn't get the joke is you don't need all of that crap that they try to sell you.
Absolutely.
You don't. And most of the time, it's actually a hindrance.
Yeah.
As I'd venture to say, you won't have an issue finding a size 33 Firestone or something similar if something goes wrong. And
exactly.
I doubt you have any suspension issues on the trail or wherever you go at 2 inches. That's the point I wanted to make.
Absolutely. So rolling off of that same point, in an expedition vehicle, in my opinion, at least, you should try to stay as close to stock as possible. So that way you can limit your brake points. This is not a rock crawler. This is not a, go downhill at 95 mile. Yeah. Desert runner. This is an all around build that will take you to everywhere, but not fast. But get you there. Yeah. Right? Like you pick your lines, you're going to get up these obstacles. At least in the United States, as an example, all the trails that have ever been made in the United States that are accessible today were made back in the 40s and 50s in a Jeep Willys with 28-inch tires with open diffs. You mean to tell me in 50 years that we now need 40-inch tires, lockers, and front and rear to do the same trail that truck did back in the 40s and 50s?
Absolutely. You don't look cool.
And by the way, the likelihood is that trail is actually in better shape today than it was then.
I agree, because they manage these now and they make them more accessible.
That's right.
So 2 points I always like to make, I can bring home into one. Like, let's say what's the famous Black Bear Pass in OURAY, Colorado?
Yeah.
Still a great trail, but they manicure it every single year. It is not the rough trail that it was 5 years, 10 years ago. So
it's got a couple step downs and a sharp turn,
right. Yeah.
It's not that big of a deal.
Let's take something.
That note, we did that at night. We did Black Bear Pass at night.
Okay, I ain't that brave. No,
it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad. We missed the waterfall though. We couldn't see it. They don't light up the waterfall. I don't
really.
No, I thought Telluride was like a cool city, but they don't even put lights on the waterfall. Weird.
Too bad.
You were talking about the Mojave Trail. Mm-hmm. Now, was the Mojave Trail as challenging as what you've seen on YouTube? Was it about the same? Was it harder?
I didn't think it was challenging at all.
Yeah.
Wait, what's
Thank you.
What's on YouTube?
What's on YouTube?
It's like we prepped them, but we didn't.
Right.
I mean, honestly, there was, it's a fun trail. Yeah, it's a fun trail. It has its, stuff in it, but it's desert. You're running desert valley. I mean, there's just only so much of variation you can come across in that scenario. And so like,
Did we miss something?
Yeah, no.
Well, I challenge you to go on YouTube and type in Overlanding Mojave Trail, and everybody's going to make it like it was the hardest trail in the world, and they had to overcome all of these obstacles and issues.
I mean, it was 102 degrees.
Oh my gosh, it was so
out there.
hot. That was the biggest obstacle.
Honestly,
My God.
honestly, we're in the sand bowl midway through. I don't know what it's actually officially called, but so I'm ripping through that in the house. Oh, the punch bowl.
Yeah.
So I'm ripping through that up and down. And the worst part was at the end, I had to open up my hood to cool it off because it was so hot. Like, but I mean, as an experienced person in off-roading, there was nothing on that trail that I would be afraid to take an amateur on. Like a complete brand new novice who's never done anything in their entire life. I did 90% of that trail in too high. And there was a couple of hill climbs that I put into 4 low because I have a standard and I don't want to work that hard. I just put in 4 low, put in second or third gear, and I just go up nice and easy, you know. But other than that, like the whole trail, I'm pretty sure it could be done in 2-wheel drive. Like,
absolutely.
I'm actually, you know what? I'm probably going to do a YouTube video about that.
Please do, because
through the Mojave Road.
That's another pet peeve of Mike and I, that you look at social media and they make these trails seem like they are the hardest, craziest things to do. And most of them are not. A decent stock 4x4 can do almost every trail in America.
Yep. So a great example of that is we did Poison SPYDER.
Yeah.
With 33s, Bilstein 5100 lift, some skid plates and rock sliders.
No lockers.
The same vehicle that we've been talking about all day, with 10 H1 Hummers
and a Jeep.
There was a Jeep on like 37s, and in the driver meeting, like the leader of the whole thing pulled me aside, was like in the middle, like, whose XTERRA is that? Had me step into the middle of the circle. And then he goes, what have you done to it? And I told him all the things. And he just looked at me and said, good luck, turned around and walked away. And I'm just like, oh, okay. Like, that's it? No other conversation? Like, do you walk me through a few things? Or like, am I missing something? And we did it. I finished the whole trail. Midway through, I stalled on the big V-notch section. I stalled on that climb where you lift up on the passenger side. And that's the first time anyone even knew that I was driving a standard. And then it was like, she's got video and you just hear in the background, it's like, oh, wait, that's a standard? Yeah.
But awesome. At the end, you gained all of their respect.
I did.
Yep.
I did. Big respects after that. But yeah, so like that's a great example of how people perceive a trail and then the realities of the trail, right? Like I'm after going on that trail, I'm pretty confident you could do that trail with 31s with a couple inch lift just to give you a little extra clearance, and low and slow,
About the driver.
Yeah.
The driver.
Since we're talking about MOAB, I like to make this point over and over again. Even the most famous rough trails in MOAB, I've done them. You just drive around the obstacle.
Just go around.
There's always a drive. You can just drive around it. That's what I do.
Mm-hmm. There's a couple trails you can do that on, but for the most part, there are bypasses for almost all the big ones. Yeah. Poison SPYDER has 3 obstacles that are pretty intense that you cannot bypass.
There is one that passed, right?
I think one of them you can, but 2 of them you can't.
Exactly.
I'm
yeah.
pretty sure the first one is the one that you can bypass, and then after
Yeah,
that,
and then the other two you can't.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yep. Good times.
True.
Good times.
You got to
So-
do it again. Though.
I do. We're
last
gonna do the trifecta in May.
I'm determined not to make this a gear thing, so this will be my last question about it. In the last 12 months, because you've been doing so much work on your vehicle, what would you consider to be the best investment in gear in the last 12 months? And give me a reason why.
I think for me, it would be the battery system that I put together. Yeah, because I just offer. We now have the ability to be out and about with plenty of power to do work for 3 or 4 days. So that really opened up a lot of freedom for us as a whole. That mixed with the STARLINK. Those are game changers as far as the nomadic lifestyle goes.
Mike's STARLINK is coming up more and more, isn't it?
Oh yeah,
That's almost becoming a necessity.
I would say I would be surprised in another year if there was a single person that was out without it. I mean, I can't see it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually thinking about, or I've been throwing around the idea that once I have it flat mounted and everything, that, I mean, there's a potential that I could just no longer have cell coverage and just use the STARLINK.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm on right now. I mean, we're on a call and
Us
I'm
too.
We're
we're on the STARLINK right now. So I mean, the network is there, the consistency is there, and then that would be another, $100 and something bill that we wouldn't have to pay, because we would just, we're still connected to Instagram, we're still connected to all that data,
And most of the people who listen to this podcast, they don't watch it. So I just want to describe everybody except for me.
That's what I got right now.
205 megabytes.
Yep.
How do I find that?
So everybody on here but me is on STARLINK. And I'm not having any issues with signals with you guys or anything. And sometimes I'll do an interview with the person who's at home and it looks like they're breakdancing.
Well, Phil, it's funny you bring that up, Phil, because last week I was traveling on the road and I was in New England, and I was actually at my mom's condo, and we did a podcast from there, and it broke up a couple times, and I ran a speed test, and she has like the highest speed that's available in that location, and it's half as fast as I have here on STARLINK. It's amazing. It's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, we just did ours real quick. We're not quite as fast as you, but
yeah, I noticed it gets faster, particularly down here in southern Baja. It's really fast.
nice.
Well, I believe in actual real life, and I don't care what them numbers say. I'm getting excellent signals from both of you guys.
Right.
And like I said, I've usually gotten issues with people who are home-based.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't had an issue with anybody I've done an interview with on STARLINK, not one time.
Crazy.
STARLINK. Good job, Elon. We take donations and sponsorships.
Yeah.
So
yes, we do. Me too.
I've been following you guys forever now. I've seen you guys do all types of trails, so I know that you're well-versed in a lot of type of environments.
Mhm.
What's your favorite type of trail to be on? Is it mountainous? Is it desert, beach? What is it? What's your favorite landscape and terrain?
I like mountains with like forest mixed into it. I mean, the beach is nice, but it's so hot. It's just too hot. Like we can do a trail in the desert and then camp in the mountain.
Right.
Like best of both worlds.
I think for me, I really enjoy like the high Sierra, so like desert, a little bit of mountainous, I like that mixture for sure. I think those are my favorite, just as far as like a wheeling terrain. Like because it provides you with like the soft terrain of the sand, but then you might hit a couple of like cool rock crawly sections, so I enjoy like a good mix, which I guess would kind of just describe like Moab, like Moab really is like, for me, that at all the places in the country, there's a few other areas in the country that are very similar to Moab as far as like, the slick rock style, limestone, different softer, but really grippy rock. But Moab just really provides all of it in one place with the canyon walls where you can just go down like Schaefer Trail and then go up to the LaSalle's and be up in
That's
where
fair.
it's,
That's fair.
30 degrees cooler with some snow, and then you can be down in desert dunes, romping around. So like that's a perfect space. Yeah.
I like the San Juan Mountains in Colorado. That's
good point. Good point. Yeah. But still, it's like that. It's that section, the Four Corners, right? Like the Four Corners is that's a good area.
What are you guys most excited about on the Pan American Highway?
For me, it's South America, because I've never been to South America. It's always been an area that's I've met a lot of people from there, and they've always talked very highly of it. I've talked with people who have been there now, as we've been engaging with the idea of going down there, and everyone only talks highly of it in their travels. So that's really gotten me excited about it compared to what has been fed to me throughout my life, So, you got to struggle with those kind of like different information sources coming in. But all in all, like looking past kind of the negativity and like the dangers that could potentially be there, I'm really excited to experience the cultures and
food.
And
I'm excited to eat.
Food.
Have you started putting together kind of like an itinerary? Like, I'm definitely going here, I'm definitely going there, or
so
what does the time frame look like? Like, how much time do you want to do it for?
Yeah, so the real like set stuff that we have so far is we know we're going to do it for a year. Beyond that, we know that we're going to start in Prudhoe Bay and we're going to end in Ushuaia. And those are like the key points. Beyond that, we don't want to, like you said, there's spots that we want to stop at. There's, I want to go out to the Yucatan and experience the Inca and the Mayas and, those ancient cultures, and check out all the ruins and, all that fun stuff. Right. But all in all, like we just want to just go, and when things pop up, we want to be able to go do those things. If we meet an amazing person or amazing people, I don't want to be like, oh, I'm sorry, we've got to be to
plans to do
X,
this.
Y, and Z place because we booked it out 6 months ago. Like I don't want to miss out on that opportunity for this other thing. So we really want to leave the whole schedule as open as possible. And also, we all know this as, travelers, you never know what the borders are going to be like.
Ever.
Right now, today is the perfect day to go through, but tomorrow is not. So you got to leave yourself a lot of buffer, I feel like, in those cases. So again, that comes down to just not over planning for a trip at this scale. We know the destination, the journey is going to be the adventure,
As somebody also doing this, and probably people that are listening to us, obviously the Pan American in this continent or these two continents is divided by the Darién Gap. Have you considered and have any ideas from a getting across the Darién Gap standpoint, and then second, because there's a lot of complication involved with that, the timing of it, because that is one thing that is a definitive where you've got to have it blocked or scheduled.
Yeah.
Curious. And I guess my second follow-up to that would be, in your case, is your truck is containerable then?
Yes, it is. Yep. Yeah, we're much smaller. So I don't even think we would need a high boy I'm pretty sure we would fit in a regular. But if we did need a highway, you know, it's a little bit more money. So around the Darién Gap, I've done a lot of research around that. So right now, I figure when we're about 3 weeks away from the Darién Gap is when we'll start to reach out to companies and start lining everything up. But beyond that, like as far as like when we're actually going to make it to that point, again, yeah, we're just totally just kind of we'll get there and then we'll make those moves. And there is a chance based on conversations with people that we could be waiting for up to a month. And we do understand that is a high probability by doing it this way, that there will be a couple of situations where we may extend the amount of time we have to stay in one spot because of the lack of planning.
Yeah.
Everybody doesn't know what the Darién Gap is. So let's establish that before we go any further.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's true. I suppose that's a good point.
Yeah. Go for it, Phil.
Anyway, the Darién Gap is basically a political zone, a jungle, and an obstacle between you having the ability to continue on and completing the Pan American Highway. The way people
very short section that is not connected from Panama to Colombia.
Yes. And pretty much the only way that you can complete the Pan American is to figure out some way to shuttle your vehicle across that point.
And sadly, this year I just read 500,000 people transited the Darién Gap in the last 12 months. 500,000 people have transited through there. So, I mean, it's an interesting situation for sure.
It can't be, that road can't be far off. I mean, come on, 500,000 people walking through there. There's got to be a road.
I don't know. I just read an interesting article they did a video on it. I believe it was a crew from, I could be mistaken, but I think it was from CNN. And no, unfortunately, it is so dense that like literally you could send 100,000 people on a path and you'd expect it to be trampled down and built up and, you know, become a path. I mean, you don't do something for a week and it's just a jungle again. I mean, it is amazing at how quickly stuff grows, and the weather there. It's just incredible rain, incredible mud. There's so many. It's essentially a swamp, and there's so many water crossings, and sadly, obviously, there's cartel control. In fact, it's almost all cartel controlled, and most of the people transiting are you know paying certain fees to go along. There's actually little stores that they've set up now. It's so organized where people can get supplies, but it's all part of a money-making operation.
Right.
To get through there. The government's kind of both look the other direction. And that's, you know, forget.
They don't want to hassle with that area at all. They just want to ignore it.
Yeah. And the US, you know, from a political standpoint, the US is pretty adamant that they won't allow it to be built. You know, the US government is not interested in a highway being completed. I mean, that would only, you know, make it easier for people to get out of South America. So I mean, go figure. So
yeah,
I mean, that's the Darién Gap there in a nutshell.
Right. Yeah. Actually, that's a pretty good nutshell right there.
So not only is it a physical challenge, it's a political challenge, it's a monetary challenge. It's, to most people, the biggest challenge on the Pan American Highway.
Yeah.
That's expensive too. I mean, there's shipping costs. I've got, by the way, reach out. I've got some contacts down in Panama that with some of this, because I've been working on it for a while, and my truck obviously is not containerized, but you know, and I met a bunch of people coming up on the northbound side and actually going southbound. Has arranged some stuff, and it's interesting. In fact, some of it got so bad for a while, people were actually shipping, backtracking and shipping out of Texas.
Oh wow!
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've spoken to a couple people that did that. Yeah.
Okay. That would not be ideal, but if we had to, I guess, you know, we do what you got to do to continue.
Right. Yeah.
So when you get to the tip, are you returning? Is this a loop, or are you going to fly it or take a ship back? Or
so we haven't decided 100% on that. When we get to the bottom, if things are just all honky-dory and we're all sunshine and rainbows, maybe we'll go over to Africa next.
Got a number for you on that too. Also,
all right, we'll talk.
Yep.
Yeah, so we may do that. And then
so Africa directly from Chile, you'd fly. Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. No, from Argentina, down south. We'd probably go back up toward one of the major cities in Argentina.
Yeah. Or usually Argentina. It's usually Argentina to South Africa is the shipping route generally.
Okay, yeah. So we would, shoot through Argentina and then go to South Africa and then work our way up to Europe. But that's dream. The realities of it all would most likely we would get down to the bottom, and then some people would probably have to fly back and they would ship their vehicles back, and then other people would decide to either drive back, maybe hang around South America for a bit and then make their way back up. Because we're hoping to have about 4 people for the trip.
Well, we'll definitely be following along, and hopefully we'll get you back on during the trip, maybe.
Ooh.
Absolutely. We'll have Starlink, so we can do that.
Let's talk about that. Did you guys mention what is your time frame? Like, what are you guys up to over the next couple of months? And then when is this big trip?
Yeah. So for the rest of this year, we're going to be kind of like finishing up the national parks and hyping up the Pan American trip. So we're going to be going to all of the Overland Expos. We're going to be teaching some classes at the Overland Expos. And then after those, or in between the PNW and Mountain West, we're going to go up to Alaska to bang out probably not all of them, but most of them, because there's a couple, obviously we know there's logistical things to get to those. So that, requires a little bit more planning, a little bit more money to do those. But all the ones that we can get to, we're going to bang out in that time frame. And then come back, finish out the expos. And then after the last expo, we'll just be making sure all of the vehicles are ready for the Pan American trip. So after East, we'll just be solely focused on vehicle prep, trip prep, and really getting everything that we can iron out, get that ironed out and planned ahead for. And then everything that we just need to leave open for the possibility of change, then we'll leave those off to the side as a back burner.
And you said vehicles, so you've got a convoy-ish situation.
Yeah. So it's right now, we're not all 100% in, but we have Braxton from Welcome to the Outdoors is going to be joining us on that trip. And then we have 2 other vehicles that are high probability of joining. Once they have confirmed, then we can, talk about who they are. But we're waiting to hear back from them and make sure that that's something they really want to do.
Very cool.
So yeah, we're super excited. A lot of things are all coming together.
Are we going to try to go to Hawaii this winter too?
Yeah.
We might try to fit in Hawaii to finish those national parks too.
Yeah.
Lots of stuff.
When you go to Hawaii, are you going to rent something, or are you going to ship your vehicle to Hawaii?
Oh, definitely rent.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll fly over, most likely rent a van, take out the back seats, and then
they have camper vans. That's right.
Yeah, but those stand out. You have to camp for free.
That's
Otherwise
true.
It costs too much.
Vans do stand out. Yeah, they do rent the vans all set up for you in Hawaii, though.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll rent some kind of vehicle and then
like
go
a
around.
Dodge Caravan.
Yeah, like a Dodge Caravan. Minivans are super not noticeable. No one pays attention to minivans. So yeah, we'll bang out those. And honestly, the last park I think is going to end up being the Royal Isles. And then the two parks that you have to do the puddle or the bush plane in northern Alaska. Yeah. Those will be the last parks to kind of get to. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Exciting.
I love it. I love hearing other people's stories. I love hearing other people's journeys. I've been enjoying this time with you. Now, I want to know this is another question I ask everybody. What's your go-to meal? Do you have a go-to meal? Like, the first stop of a journey, do you have like a go-to meal?
Like going out or like making ourselves?
Making yourselves.
Okay. If we go to
now, if you generally go out the first day, then
yeah. Taco Bell.
There you go.
Like because the first day is most likely going to be me driving 10 hours to a point. So like, yeah, Taco Bell, totally. That's probably our first. Once we get outside of the U.S., I don't know what I'm going to do.
You're gonna eat real tacos.
I know. Oh, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, real tacos.
Once you get past Mexico, I heard that's not the reality.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Kind of
great food.
The food kind of.
No, Central America, Honduras, Nicaragua, Guatemala have great food.
Nice. Okay. Good.
Love it.
We keep getting mixed reviews, so we're kind of like we're preparing ourselves.
Tacos.
There's no tacos. Is it good food?
It's good food. And no, I mean, like, it's funny because even here in Mexico, I always kind of like, whether it's a burrito, a quesadilla, a taco, it's all kind of the same stuff. It's just packaged differently. It's like different kinds of pasta, right? You can have like spaghetti or bolognese, or whatever. But yeah, so no, I actually really enjoy a lot of the Central American food. It's pretty good.
Nice. Good to know. Yeah. Otherwise,
by the way, when I come north, when I hit the U.S., the first thing I want to go do is go to a Wendy's. So
fair.
You use Taco Bell. I got to admit to that.
Is Wendy's your favorite burger, or is it
me? Yes.
Okay. Favorite burgers, guys.
It's never frozen. I mean, come on.
So is that In-N-Out?
Oh God, no.
You like Five Guys?
Yeah, I like Five Guys.
I don't really eat.
I'm an In-N-Out dude.
Too salty.
Yeah.
I do In-N-Out when in California.
I hate their fries, but.
Oh yeah. Well, we've gotten their fries. What was it? Well done, and it's been better.
Yeah, that helps. Just burn them bitches before you bring them to my table.
I like Five Guys. We have one close to us. I do like them. It's a totally different burger.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, totally different burger. As far as like the legit fast food burger places, I actually enjoy Burger King because it's actually on a flame.
Flame broiled.
Yeah. I like that flavor it gives it. So that'd be my go-to for the burger joints. Yeah.
Okay, that was the most important question.
Of course. Towards the end for that,
All done here. Great talking with you guys.
Everybody's waiting the whole time for us to tell what our fast food pleasures are.
So I know you guys, I knew a lot of questions to ask, but was there anything that I should have asked but I didn't know to ask? Or is there something you want to tell us that we didn't know to ask you about?
I guess one thing that our handle, MOLEISUREXVENTURES, we get questions about what that means. That's actually both of our last names combined. My last name is Mo, his last name is Leisure, and then XVentures, XTERRA Adventures. Yeah. That's so. Yeah, it's not some random word.
Makes sense.
It's a random word I made up, but
I mean, not really. I mean, it works.
But yeah, that's. I mean, are there?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I can't think of anything.
People can check you out on what social medias and where can they find you?
You can find us at MOLEISUREXVENTURES on Instagram, YouTube. YouTube is mainly like a lot of DIY stuff that he does because he does everything on the vehicle.
The video for
We watch.
was on there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Facebook, but everything on Instagram goes on Facebook. So it's you know, the same stuff. But if you use Facebook more often than Instagram, you can find us there too. But
When I watch you working on your vehicle, I'm usually watching like this.
Oh man, I'm usually in the desert doing something stupid. So
using an angle grinder.
Yeah, right. It's silly. So
All right.
If like, flying, he's not doing it right.
Yeah, I got like a month ago, I just modified some guy's Sequoia fender in the middle of Moab, like bent it back like an inch and a half because he was rubbing so bad. But do what you got to do, man. You got to get on that trail.
Is there anything else you'd like to say? Something you might want to say to your fans and social media?
Always a pleasure. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for following along on this crazy adventure that we're having. We appreciate everyone. We never thought that it would become this big of a thing, I guess. I don't know. We were just traveling to travel, and then people were like, where can we follow you? And we're like, oh, okay. I guess we'll start doing social media. And yeah, it's thanks.
Thank you everybody.
Yeah.
Who's been following.
And we've met on the road. Like, I mean, we met you guys at the expos, and it's been, we've met so many great people. I never, like, coming from the city, like I was always surrounded by people, but I had that city mindset of like, you know, I don't know what people want from me, but yeah, you know, strangers aren't always bad.
Right. I mean, on that same note, like the build that we have right now would not have happened if it wasn't for the community and like them people in the community willing to host us for a couple weeks at a time so that I could accomplish completing the inside of this. So it was, livable and comfortable, that's so, big thanks to all the community, because we definitely would not have this build in its completed form if it wasn't for them.
Yep.
Mike,
sure.
Is there anything you want to say?
Yeah, I'll second what they're saying. I mean, that's so true. The community is amazing. Like them, I had the same thing. Really, I've done so much work at so many different places and stayed at very, random places. And just the people that you meet, regardless of whether you're in the U.S. or overseas, it's amazing. That the world of travel is just amazing. So I'm glad we got to talk to you guys today for sure. And I guess we're going to be seeing each other soon in a couple of weeks, then, right?
Yes. You gonna be in the DIY?
I will.
All right, we'll see you there. Hell's
so
yeah.
you'll be in the DIY, right?
Yeah.
Briefly discuss what you're going to, because you're going to be teaching something also. Or
Yeah. So this will be our first year teaching for the expos. So we'll have the vehicle in the DIY area, which is as it's named, DIY. So it's, rigs that have been modified by the crazy person that lives in it.
It's a good way of putting it. I like that.
So anyone that would like to take the time to come check out the vehicle, get a short and sweet walkthrough of the vehicle, they can come by. Yeah, come check out the hole in the roof. They can come by and it'll be on display for the entirety of the weekend of the expo. And then while that is going on, we'll also be doing classes. Me and Delia will be doing a class on national parks. And then I will be doing 2 classes myself, one being how to work with aluminum extrusion, because that's what I use to do the entire build on the inside. And then the second will be modifying your vehicle and rooftop tents, and like kind of like the process in which I use to accomplish the end build, because a lot of this can be translated to other builds. It's just understanding 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have to take the steps in order. Otherwise, you're going to get in the middle of something and you can't get out of, because now you're stuck with no way out, because you got to follow steps, to make sure it's going to be structurally sound and be a solid platform for you off-road.
And what about you, Mike? You'll be in the do-it-yourself section also, right?
I will. So we will be campmates.
Nice.
So
Party on Saturday.
We're all playing our part at Expo.
That's what
I'll be giving 24/7 coverage from beginning to end. So stay tuned for that. Me and Mike will be roving around talking to some of the most popular people that you want to talk to. You want to hear from. And I'm sure we're all gonna
be busy.
Always. What the Wests? They're crazy. You guys know. That's a scene and a half right there.
Yep.
And see, you guys have used words like crazy and not normal and everything, but you guys have been so sedate in this interview. So I want people that don't know you to know, don't think that you've got an idea of their personality. They're behaving right now.
My favorite burgers are the ones that Phil makes on the temple. Yeah.
All right, guys. Is there anything you want to say, Mike?
No, we are good.
All right, guys. You know what I'm going to say. Stay safe, tread lightly, and hopefully I'll see you here or on the trail soon.
You have been listening to Waypoint Overland's Random Waypoints. Like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more.